be building out this blog, which I've attached to my agency website called One Cloud Media, which is like a business that I run, it's a web design agency. So I'm going to show you how I built this. I built using Next.js, styled it with Tailwind, and the content is managed by CMS, which is Contentful. As you can see, it loads really fast because I use Next.js's server-side rendering. So as you can see, if I refresh it, it literally loads instantaneously. As you can see, it pops up very, very fast. Also mobile responsive, as you can see. And blogs are a great way for you to boost engagement on your blog, on your website, sorry, and also a great way for you to generate traffic. Okay, so I created the Next app using Create Next App, and I just called it blog, as you can see here. And I went for the pages router, just simply because it's a lot easier to use in terms of server-side rendering for beginners, because this tutorial is meant to be aimed at beginners. It's quite a beginner-friendly tutorial. And I've also installed Tailwind CSS, as you can see here with the classes. And I'm using TypeScript as well, but I'm not going to be too fussy with the classes. It's just for the error handling, which I find a lot easier with TypeScript. And what I've done here is I've created a button called blog, which will take us to the blog directory, which I haven't created yet. So that's going to be reminiscent of this page here. So let's do that now. So as you can see here, simply, let me just explain. So there's just a link with a blog in the router. So simply just go to here, the pages router, and just create a directory called blog. And then inside that we'll just create one file called index.tsx. Switching to, I'll just run the command OFC. So that's from the React AS7 snippet extension. I'll just change this to blog. So now let's try and style out like this. So what I'll do first is create a div, and I'll give that some class names. So I'll use width of 4, which will make that the whole width of the page. I want it to have the same colour as the navbar, so what I'll do is I'll just go to the component. So I made this navbar earlier, and I'll just copy this background here. Give it a nice dark background. So I'll give it that background, and I'll give it property of flex and flex column, which just means that everything was set on top of each other like this nicely. And yeah, I think that should be it for now. Oh yeah, actually let me give some padding actually. So I'll give it a PY on phones and small devices of 4. Actually let me give that a bit higher, so I'll give it a PY of 20. I'll give it a PX of 4 on phones and small devices, and a PX of 20 on larger screens. So if you add MD, that's for larger screens, and PX4, that will be for mobile devices, because Tailwind is mobile first in its in the way it styles things. So let me create a H1 tag, and I'll call that learn. I'll just copy this in there. Learn how to build your blog online. Business online, sorry. So what I've done, let's just see how that looks now. Head over to the blog section. Oops, I forgot to import my navbar. Usually I would do this in I'd usually include the navbar in the layout file, but I haven't, just to save time I'm not going to do that now, so I'll just surround everything in a div and I'll just import my navbar as such, and that just says auto import, as you can see there. So learn how to build your business presence online. There's a H2 on top of that called blog, so I'll just add that now. And there's a little line as well. Repeat that, I can't remember exactly what it says. So that's one newsletter below. And there was a small form as well, wasn't there? Okay. So I'll just do that now. I'm not going to make this form active. It's just for display purposes for So here I'm going to give add a gap of like 2 just to separate everything nicely. Maybe let's go with 3. Looks a bit better. Cool. So now let's just start the text. So I've imported the font Poppins, as you can see here. If you want to import fonts, you don't actually have to install any external packages. With Next.js, you just literally just do next font Google, and you can import the font Poppins, and then whatever weights you want to add there, you can do that. And this is in the app folder, so just to make sure that the fonts are consistent across the whole project. And then yeah, you just give it a main and the class name of Poppins, and that's it, ready to go. So yeah, class name of font semibold. We'll give it a text, a bit of a grey. So text will be grey, 400. And give it a standard size on mobiles, and then on larger styles we'll give it a text of 2XL. Cool. Is that similar to that one yet? It's literally identical. Cool. I think let's add the text of SF as well, just to make sure everything's the same. Cool. So with this, we'll give it some more classes as well. We'll give this a colour of white. Let's just make it a bit brighter. Sorry, just make it plastic there. Text white. We'll give that a font semibold as well. Give that a text of, let's say 2XL on mobiles. Let's make it 3XL on desktop. Let's just open up another terminal, but let's just keep that mobiles, just to make sure everything's good on mobile as well. So this is how it looks so far on mobile. So let's make sure this. I think maybe the gaps are a bit too big, so we can change that to gap 2, I think. Yeah, or even gap 1 on mobile. And then maybe make it like a gap 2 on. Gap 1 seems fine, actually. Yeah, gap 1. Let's gap it. It's a lot closer on this one. But I think for now we'll just leave it as gap 2. Doesn't have to be exactly identical. And here, we just style the text here. So we'll give that a text of white colour. Actually, let's give it grey. Let's give it grey 400 actually. More consistent with what's above it. Yeah, perfect. And I think we'll give this a bit of padding actually, just to separate it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that looks great. So PY20, let's make that one medium. Let's add PY10. So the padding here is for PY is up and down. So that'll be the y-axis, and then PX on the x-axis. So as you can see, the PX here is 4. But the padding one here is 4. It's a lot wider here, just on. Sweet. So now we're going to head over to customizable.com. It's a fairly simple, straightforward sign-up process. Just enter your details and continue, and I'll see you when you're done. So once we've signed up, we'll be taken to this quick links page. And from here, we'll be able to set up our content model. The content model is basically the different types of content that will be held in our blog post. So as you can see, there's a title, excerpt, there's an opinion, which is just a tag. We've got the read time, we've got images, and obviously we've got the rich text. To do this first, we'll start off by creating our content model. So we're going to call this blog. And as you can see, this is the API identifier which will be fetching in our Next.js app. So make sure you call it quite a name that you'll be able to remember quite easily. Hit create. And after that, we'll start adding the different fields. There are obviously different formats which you can include in your blog post. So we'll start with creating our title. This is simply the title of each individual article. We'll just call that title. And this is the short text. format, add and configure. So there's different configuration options here. So for this one, we'll just simply include that as a required field. So every single post that we have will require it, and it's just a single line, appearance-wise. We'll just click confirm. So the next field we'll include is the slug. So the slug is basically another piece of short text, which is this slug here, which basically is the identifier for each unique blog post. So it just adds it onto the URL. So this is also a short text. You add that and configure that. Also a required field. And here we can just select slug, generate slug from the title. So now each slug is generated from the title post. As you can see here, strategic utilization. See here in the slug. Same. From that. After that, we'll just add an image. So for that, we'll just add media. Or cover image, or whatever you want to call it. But since I'm only going to have one image per article, I'm just going to name it image. Obviously, you can name it whatever you want. We can also make this a required field. And so we're going to accept only file types will be image. So we're not going to be able to include any other file types here. If you wanted to add any of these, you can also do the same by adding a media content type. Hit confirm. After that, we'll add an excerpt, which is simply this little summary of the article text. Excerpt. This is long text, so it'll be that we select. Make this also required. Value, so this is just the amount of text that we can add. We'll just make this multiply. We're not going to make this markdown. This also, and then we'll add a date as well. So you can just simply add date and time. This date, adding configure, and make this required. So just have the date picker here. Format will add date only. We only want the date. Yep, we can confirm that. The next field will be content. So this will be the rich text. This will call it content. This is going to have the main bulk of our article will be held within this. Just configure that. Content. So all of these different rich text formats will be allowed to be added. Obviously, we can choose which ones we want, but I'm just going to click enable all just to make sure that we have all the options. We don't have to use them all, but just to ensure that all options are available. So these are we're allowing hyperlinks, assets, entries, etc. And then I don't think we need to select anything here other than rich text. Yeah, I think we're good for that. What else do we have? Got the read time. So here, it's going to be another short text format, which we'll call this read. Just to make sure we know exactly what we're talking about. We can call it read actually. I know what we're talking about. Obviously, if you lot know when I change it, you can change the names of any of these to whatever you like. Click add and configure. Can I make this required field? I'll make that a single line. What do we have left? Oh yeah, we can add the type as well. So, example, the type is opinion. Add the content type. So for this is also a text. For instance, here we can actually make it a list. Where we can add our own set specified values. Just add and configure. So make also this required. I'm only making sure everything's required because I want all the different blog posts to remain consistent. And then here we can accept only as specified fields. So they'll be, for now, there'll be our two different categories, and we'll just add a checkbox so you can literally select every time you create a blog post. So we'll just confirm that. And I think that's everything. It's all our different fields for our content. We'll just hit save. That's it, content type successfully saved. Now we can head over to content and we can add our first entry. Okay, so what I've done now is I've created some content. So I've just added the title, and as you can see, the slug auto-generates exactly from the title. I've added an image, I've added a small excerpt, I've added the date, I've got some content in there now, I've added the 2-minute reads, and I've added the opinion type. And I'm just going to press publish. Now if you head over to content, you'll see it, it's right here. And type blog name. So the next step is we're going to create a client which we'll use to link our Next.js app to our contentful. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this command npm I contentful just to install it. And then we're going to create a new folder called library, or live, whatever you want to call it, and then within that folder we'll create another folder called contentful, and then we'll create a folder called client.js. It will just require the package, and then we'll export our client. So what we need to do first is get the space ID and the access token. And to do that, we'll just head over to settings, and then just press API keys, and it'll take us to this page. We'll just add API key, just call this key. Press add. Once this is added, we'll be provided our space ID and our access token, which you can then copy into our client.js file, which we'll then use, like I said, to configure our CMS contentful with our Next.js app. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to navigate to our index page, and we're going to fetch these articles that we've just created. Let's get started. So what I'm going to do is just import. So this is an async function. We also need to import the client that we've just made here. So now use this client to fetch the data. So we'll simply just we'll just make a response. We'll just do await, because like I said, it's a asynchronous function. The client dot get entries, and the content type we're looking for is post. We'll just do content type, as you can see, and whatever we called it, so that'll be the same name, given it over here. Content model blog. But it blog, actually it's not post, so I have to change this to blog. So that's basically what you have to type in here. And it's just console of the response. Let's see what we get. You can see here. Responses total 2. So we've got a limit of 100 assets. As you can see, we've actually managed to console log the data. So that's our response. So that so far, it's really that simple in order to fetch the posts. What we want actually now to do is to get actual posts. Do that. Just console log response.items. Response.items. You can see. There we have it. These are our posts. And it really is that simple. Literally one line of 4 lines of code. There we've got them. See? Title, slug, excerpt, etc. Sweet. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to return the items. So we're going to return each of these objects, which is of course the post. We're just going to name this posts, and the post will be response dot items. So now we're returning these posts. So what we can do to display them on our front end, we can just import these posts into, and I will now console log the posts so you can see. As you can see. So what we're going to do now is we need to build out. So we're going to build out these components now. So to do that, we'll just create a new component and call it post. What should we call it? A postcard. Dot just because I simply can't be bothered to type right now. So first, we need to extract each of the bits of information from. So we need to extract each piece of information so we can display on our card only the relevant bits of information we need. So for example, we're not going to be importing content, of course, because we're not going to be displaying that. We're going to be just importing title, image, date, title, excerpt, and the read time. So to do that, we'll just simply title. I'm actually using a Windows for the first time in years. I've just bought a new Windows PC. I'm usually a Mac guy, so. And I also use a laptop, so the desktop is quite tricky for me to use at the moment. It's a bit of a learning process, and also because I'm doing my first ever tutorial, my mind tends to go a bit blank sometimes. Yeah, bear with me. By the end of the tutorial, you will know that this is definitely an easy way to display your blog, to build your blog post, sorry. There we've got it. So we're just importing all our stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to import the link tag. The next link. And we're going to basically surround our whole div in this link, because what we want is flex row. So we're just going to surround our whole div in this link tag so we can take it straight to our blog article. So I'm just going to do /blog /slug. We haven't created the dynamic right yet, but we'll do that after we just start this postcard. What do we want to do first? So let's just build this. So let's build our div first. Within that div, we want to give it a class name of flex. A flex of column. For mobile screens, and medium screens will do flex row. So that's row. Just add a gap between right. So on the left hand side, so now we're going to split this into two divs. So the left hand div is going to be the image container, and right hand div is going to have all the content. So let's start with image. So with the image, I'm going to make this. You can import an image. devices. Properties of object cover, just to make sure the dimension of the image remain the same. We'll give it a height 20. Just say 20 rem. Just because we want the image to be quite big. The image container, you're not actually meant to add object cover to the outer div, you're actually meant to add it to the image tag. So now let's import our image. So image, we'll give that src of index page just to make sure. I'm just going to map over the posts. Posts dot map item. Each item we will turn the postcard. Attributes, just to make sure that each should be post. That's it with me. No. URL, that's actually how we get the image. Dot fields. Dot file. Dot URL. So now it's into this. So we'll just give it a width. No. It's not height property as well. I have 100 for now. Okay, so we need to actually add this. Let's add a HTTPS before our image tag. Just some backticks to make it a string. So basically, what is the error that we're getting is you have to actually change the asset to a URL. So we'll just do that now. So now we're having a problem with our Next.js config. So to get around that problem, we have to simply just add this. We need to add this to our assets. Next.js config. We'll just do images. Images. Domains. And this is an array. We'll just add this as a string in there. Copy this. So the problem is that Next.js hasn't tag here. Just call it image. Call it article image. Just leave it like that for now. As you can see, the images have decided to pop up. Just great news. That was a bit long. Sorry, my fault. I just really hate these Next.js with an image properties. It's just really annoying. I'll just make them 500. What it does is it just tends to ruin the picture quality, in my opinion. Looks a lot better. So that's on a mobile device. What is? Let's just fix up this. So let's just make sure. Put the padding. Just do EX20. Or do MT. That looks decent. Let's add a gap. 8, 10. Do 10 on larger devices. See how it looks on mobile. Yeah, it's not too bad. Our images. And now we need to create the side of it. We can give the images a bit more. Images are quite large, so you know what? Next.js image tags are annoying, so I'm just going to use them. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start this part. So start with the container. So let's just call it class name. Do a flex column, a bit of items, give it an item center to make sure everything's centered, and we'll give it a gap of 2, which produces the gap between each item. Start with the date. Let's give that a class name. Small text. Make it quite a light grey color. Give the title, so we'll give that H1. Just call that title. small t, my bad. Give that some padding as well. Font semi-bold. Text of 3XL, is that too big? There's a width of half as well, just to make sure. Sweet. Get the X out. That's a bit long, so we're going to give it a line clamp. So to give it a line clamp, we'll just go to. I found the easiest way to create line clamps is in CSS. So I'll just go to create a custom class. I'll just call it line clamp accept. So what we want is, we don't want, because as you can see, it's quite, the accepts can tend to be quite long. We only want to have, say, 3 or 4 lines. How many is there? Alright, so we'll do 5 lines. We'll do 5 lines on desktop. 5 lines should be okay. Yeah, we'll do 5 lines. What we do is just do overflow. Let's make that hidden. Display dash webkit dash box. Perfect. To dash web. What we're looking for is box orient. We'll do vertical. Webkit line. So kit dash line. 4, is that what we said? Copy this line clamp. Copy. Wrong one. Put that there. As you can see, just cut it down to 4 lines, and that'll be consistent with all of our others. Check the return. That's how it looks on mobile. We can want bold actually. That's not bold. Bold. Text. Grey 800. Acceptable. 600. Yeah, perfect. Text grey 800. At least. Let's copy. Let's copy. Let's just read. Perfect. Only problem now we've got the date, so the format of the date is not exactly how we want it. So the way we want it is to have the month and the date. See? But for that purpose, I've actually created a function, and I'll leave that in the description below, or I'll just leave it in the GitHub and then you guys can just copy it. As you can see, function there, the format date function. Just input the date, and it literally will just change the date to the format that you need. Perfect. As you can see, mobile, desktop, doesn't look exactly the same, but I think maybe the title can be a bit tracking tight. It's a little better. So I've just reduced the line width between each line, the width between each letter. That's just called tracking tight. So I think that looks a lot better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create the paths. So as you can see, when you click on an article, it takes you to this path, which is a dynamic route, and we can use Next.js to create dynamic routes using our dynamic router. Just type in slug, call it slug.tsx. Just call it post. Now we'll just p-tagging that, which is hello. The first thing we need to do is we need to get the path names. So like I said, each individual post in our blog, in our blog has individual route. Get static paths. So this is a built-in Next.js function that we use to get paths. So it's just a get static paths. So this is an asynchronous function. Doesn't take any parameters, this one. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the response. We just need to import our client again. So this is an asynchronous function. Just import our client again. And again, we'll use get entries. And we'll get the content type of blog. This is actually meant to be cool. And now we'll just export this route. So I need to get the path, sorry. So we're going to map through each of our responses. First we're going to fetch all of our responses that we did on the other page, which is basically all our blog posts. So we're going to fetch all the content from this. And we're going to map over each of the items. We're going to extract the slug from each of them. So we're going to do that like this. So we const response dot items dot map each item we're going to extract the slug, like I said, so from params. item dot fields dot slug, as we saw earlier. Now what we're going to do is we're going to return the paths. We return paths, and we can do a fallback of true in case the page doesn't load. And curly braces, parentheses. But we'll put that in curly braces just to ensure it's working. We'll make the fallback true. Cool. Now what we need to do is, now that we've got the paths, we need to now get the content to populate our post, and we'll do that using get static props. So we'll do export const get static props. There's also an asynchronous function. We'll just do async. This one we actually are going to add params. We're going to get the params from here. Just going to give that any type for now. We're not trying to mess about with types. So here's how we export our slug. Extract our slug, sorry. It'll be slug equals params. That's how we're going to export our slug from the param. Now what we need to do is we need to fetch all the content from each individual slug. So what we're going to do is const response equals wait. Say asynchronous function again. Try not get entries. And now what we're going to be doing is getting the content. The content will be log. We're going to be getting the content from each individual slug by doing fields dot slug and slug. And we're just going to return that. So we'll do return. So it's a curly braces again. Oh. So we'll do revalidate. Export return the props. So what we're going to return is posts, which will be response dot item and it will be first post. Object notation. Not just in case it's undefined. So now we've got our post. What we're going to do is we're going to import that into our function, into our component, sorry. And again, we're going to give that a now we can just console log our post. Let's see if that's coming up. As you can see, it's our post. Unveiling the future. Unveiling the future. Perfect. Go back. Try this one. Crafting the ideal cookie at home setup. So, as you can see, we've fetched the post successfully. But one thing we need to do is we need to just do a bit of error handling. So if there is no response, we'll just redirect it back to posts. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make an if statement. If there is no response, dot items dot length. He's saying if there's no response items in this array, just do turn redirect destination posts. Therefore, what we're saying is if there's nothing, if the response array is empty, so if there's no blog posts in our blog directory, send us back to our post page. Call it blog actually, that's where we want to go back to. Cool. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start styling. I'm going to extract all this information from here. I'm going to start styling it. First, all we need to do is we need to install our rich text editor, which is for Contentful. So if we want to display our different types of data, we're going to need a rich text editor to display the content like this. Now we're going to just install this npmi. Install that. And I've already got some of the Markdown. I'm just going to copy and paste it because it's going to take quite a while for me to just simply copy it all out. But I'm going to save the GitHub. I'm going to put a link to the GitHub in the description so you can literally find the Markdown on this page. So I'll leave it on blog slug, so the Markdown will be here for you to be able to render the rich text, because I'm not going to do it now because it will just take ages. It's fairly straightforward. All we're doing is the different types of content. So for example, if it's a paragraph, we'll style it this way. If it's a quote, we'll style it this way. If it's a URL, etc., etc. So bear with me and I'll get that back now. Okay, so these are the Markdown options that I said I would paste into here. So like I said, just go into the GitHub and you find them there. For example, got the blocks, which is a paragraph, and this is how it's rendered here. Got hyperlinks rendered as such, 9 hyperlinks, embedded entries, embedded assets, etc. Yeah, what we're going to do now is we're just going to start the page, extract all this information, so the content data, accept image, read time, slug, title, type, etc. Yeah, let's get started. So what you want to do first, usually what we do is we have the router fallback option. So if the router falls back, we'll just have a loading. So we'll just do a conditional render. So we'll say if router dot is fall back, it's true, then just return loading. Small. Else return our component. Also, we haven't imported our route yet. One thing we actually need to import router. Router. We'll just create it now. So we'll just get this to do. And actually just keep this in the front. We don't actually need to surround anything. start with is creating, or import a navbar actually. Usually I would, like I said earlier, I'd usually have the navbar in my layout component, but I haven't done that. Just to save time, I haven't created a layout component, so I'm just going to import my navbar onto each page for now. Let's give this div some classes. Give it widthful, flex, column. Start with that. Perfect. And then under that we'll create another div. Inside there. Needs to go first, so we have the actual title first. So whichever H1 first. We'll fix that in a minute. So we have this. What we have is we have the title, the excerpt, we have the opinion, which is obviously the tag, and we've got some share buttons here. I'm not going to actually make our share buttons work, but I'm just going to do them for display purposes. We've got a full screen image, and then we've got two columns. We've got this one for the rich text, and this one for some extra activity. So for example, the date, the tags, some related posts. I don't think I'm going to add a related post in this video, to be honest, just for time saving purposes. It's fairly simple to do them. We just need to fetch the data like we did. So we just need to add, we literally just need to add this over to our get static props here, and it's literally then you just fetch them basing on the tags. It's fairly straightforward. If you want me to do that in the next video, I can actually do that. So if I get some comments asking me to do that, I'll do that. That's not a problem. But first, let's just get to the crux of the matter, which is designing this blog. Cool. So first things first, let's get a title, so that's found in fields. Title. Simply, each one will be posts, post, fields, dot title. As you can see, let's just style our. Like I said, I usually like to do mobile first, so padding we'll do 4. PY, let's do 10. Mobile should be padding 20. MD PX 20. Go back a bit, so we can X as well. Actually see how it looks on mobile. So the padding is not too much. So PY20 for phones, for desktop, and PY10 for mobile. Just do MD PY20. Let's keep this some class name. Text or Excel. That could be a bit big. I think the padding's a bit more than, I think it's actually a lot more than that. I think it might be 40 actually. on top might be, say 14. Whichever one has 18 after that. Let's just do 5 from just to be safe. So if you want to override Tailwind classes, just square brackets. Seems about right. The font bold. So mobiles. Okay, so 2XL. Alright. Have the tracking tight as well. Gap of 2. There'll be a gap between them. Create our p tag. Which will be post.fields.excerpt. Copy this. I'm going to make that a tad bit brighter. I'm going to put the text of SM and we'll run that on mobiles and desktop. Get that text of grey 600. 500 actually. And the gap in between them might be a bit right. Don't think there's much more we need on this. How's that? That's good. Yeah, that's good either way. Oh, and then we can add this little section here. For that we'll create a div. Just make sure that that div's within this one. We're looking for tag right, so create a key. But then we also need the opinion. There's a little button there and then the read time. So we actually need to create another div in here. And we'll create another div. That holds the share button as well. So here we'll do width 4. Give it properties flex. We'll do justify between. Oops. This just means that both pushed out to either side. So we can do p tag. We can give it post.fields.type. Because it's an array, we're going to have to choose. I'm going to choose the first item in the array because that is an array. So I'm going to do square bracket 0. Set class. Text. So I usually would make it a button, but just for time saving purposes, I'm just going to give it a text and give it a color of blue 400. share button, similar attributes. That's presented as well. So now we need some icons, so we'll just go head over to React icons. So this is the package that I use just to get all my icons. Just copy that. So that is React icons.github.io. Just install that quickly. And then we need to get a dot. Just use that to separate. I usually use bs dot. Just import that. That's over again. Properties as well. Make sure the side by side still do flex, but this one do flex row. Make sure the items are centered. Give that a gap of 2. I think as it is, yeah. And then it's over. Don't read. Good. Perfect so far. We just need to give it the same borders. We've got a border on the top, as you can see here. Border on the top and a border on the bottom. Just do right. I'll open a desktop quiz. Great. Maybe a bit of padding. Do a bit of margin to separate it from above it. Cool. Now let's just do a share button. So here, argument's sake, let's just get Twitter. It's called X now, right? We'll just use Twitter because I prefer the Twitter icon personally. Like I said, I'm not going to make these buttons functional, but it's not that hard. There's many libraries that do sharing, so it won't be that hard to configure this once you've got started. Again, give this these are flex. actually have to do much with this because it's already mobile aligned. Yep, and we'll just copy over the classes to make it all consistent. Great to me. This will be the image container. We'll just the width of 4, padding of 4, mobile devices on larger devices give a padding of 6. Overflow hidden just in case the picture is quite large. Yeah, let's get the image. Post-op fields. Let's see if there's some padding. 40, right? Oh. Yeah. Yep, that might be a bit large. It's a bit large to me. That looks a lot better. Perfect. So just to make sure, should we, the image does look quite large, just to make sure it's not too large, should we give the container a height of 20? See, so should we give sorry. Do you give it maybe 30 then? Yep. Quite decent size on that. I don't want it to be too big, too overpowering. And I also think this gap here is still quite large. So yeah, we can make that bigger. 2. Now, we will deal with the text. As you can see, everything's looking great so far. What we'll do now is we'll handle the rendering of the text. So here, as you can see, we've got 2 columns. We've got the left-handed side and the right-hand side. So what we'll do is render our rich text on this side, and then obviously we have the sidebar on the other side. So you have to style the outside container first. What we'll do in that case, class name flex row, give it a padding of gap. Actually, I don't know if I need padding. Yeah. We need to create two divs. Sidebar will put the text content, the rich content. So with the content, so with the sidebar. So we'll make again mobile devices first. Width 4. Desktops will make it a width 2/3 of the screen. Flex as well. Full as well. So flex wrap. Flex rows on medium. Otherwise, it's going to be flex column. This column sits on top of this one, as you can see on the mobile device. Rich text sits on top of the sidebar. MD, width probably 1/3. Also give this book as a flex. Cool. So now to import document to React components from the contentful rich text renderer. So this is basically used to pass the data and just rich text format. Simply just wrap our post.fields.content with the same options here. So these are the rendering options for each different text or type or whatever you want to call it within our rich text. So these are the options. So what we do is, so we get the document, wrap this in, we get our p tag, and we can wrap this in document loader. And then we wrap our post.fields. Just double check so it's post.content. And we wrap that. Y of 4. 6. 6 looks fine. Yep. See. Second parameter will be options. Paragraph. I want to make it smaller. smaller on base size text on desktops, which is perfect. Cool. This is more or less done. Obviously, if we was to have any paragraphs or, sorry, not paragraphs, if we was to have any bold text or italic or anything, it would have come up perfectly because that is what the rich text renderer does for us. Finally, let's just work on the sidebar. Cool. So sidebar. First is we will get the date. This one has the flex column. There's the outermost div. So here is the posted date. So the P size. Will be format date. So we need to import the format date. So auto imported that. That we post. Not fields. Date. Cap is not as large. Actually, the HR line. The HR. Just a horizontal line. This one. To ensure that the component. Thanks. Type. surely one more thing, and it's related, but get into that. I don't think we're going to today. Like I said, if you guys want me to make that in the next video, maybe the margin may be a bit too wide here. SM at all times, yeah. Right to me. There you are. There you have it, guys. That's your blog. It's a blog page. So different articles. There you have it. Mobile responsive. Let's see how it looks on mobile. There you are. Obviously, I haven't added the maybe we can add a bit of padding actually on the mobile just to make sure. Add a bit of padding on the mobile just it's quite close to the edge. So yep, look on the mobile. Perfect. Happy with that? Or actually, we can just make if that doesn't look like it's aligned. On ND, we'll do PX0 or even PX1. Just a little bit, yeah. There you have it, guys. There's your blog. I think personally, obviously, you can tweak it in ways that you want to add different features that you want to add, but I want to add more photos. But yeah, that's a bare bones way of making a quick blog Next.js, styling it with Tailwind CSS. We've used server-side rendering, hence why it loads so fast, as you can see. Even when you pick it up, click on the link, loads instantaneously. Server-side rendering, Tailwind CSS, fully mobile optimized. You can just attach this blog now to any website that you have. Go on Next.js. Thank you for having me. Cheers, mate. Bye.